Hi, my name is Allison Amick, and I will be giving a video presentation on a biography that I have written on the Chrysler Museum of Art. This museum is becoming more and more popular, which is important to me as this was the first art museum that I ever visited. Throughout my research, I found how this small museum accumulated such a beautiful and diverse collection. I will mainly talk about the museum itself and its history, but also touch on the ideas that I have come up with as a sort of consultant in my paper. The Chrysler Museum of Art was not always what it is today in both name and architecture. The museum began as the Norfolk Museum of Arts and Sciences in Norfolk, Virginia in 1933, which was funded by the Norfolk Society of Arts. This would not have been possible without the inspiration from these two women, Anna Wood and Irene Leach, who established a school for girls in Norfolk, Virginia in 1871. The two ran the Leechwood Seminary for almost 20 years before retiring to Europe, where Leach passed away in 1900. As a memorial to her mentor and friend, Wood established the Irene Leach Library in Norfolk. This cultivated a budding art collection, which became the foundation for the Norfolk Museum of Arts and Sciences. One of the first major contributions to the museum is seen here, an oil painting by Helen Turner titled Lilies, Lanterns, and Sunshine. This painting was acquired in 1927 as a gift for the upcoming museum, and Turner later joined the museum's advisory board in 1937. However, the most monumental contribution was not made until 1971, when Walter Chrysler Jr. donated 10,000 works of art from his personal collection. The donation was so large that the city of Norfolk had to build 20 new galleries to house the works. As I'm sure you're wondering, like I was, how did one man amass such a massive collection of art? Picture a 14-year-old boy in Lakeville, Connecticut in 1923. This boy was attending the Hotchkiss School and first showed an interest in the arts when he purchased a small nude painting. This painting was seen as unfit by a professor and confiscated and destroyed. This painting actually ended up being a Renoir that he had purchased for only $350. This became a habit for young Walter, as he later moved to Europe after graduating from Dartmouth College. Here he met yet to be famous artists such as Picasso, Braque, and Matisse. Over time, he accumulated perhaps the most important private collection of modern painting and sculpture in the United States. Chrysler met his second wife, Jean Esther Outland, while being stationed in Norfolk as a Navy pilot in 1945. The two purchased an abandoned church in Provincetown, Massachusetts, as a museum to exhibit his personal collection in 1958. Unsatisfied with the lack of space and support, he looked to the city of Norfolk to house his collection. He donated his museum's content to the Norfolk Museum of Arts and Sciences, which later changed its name to the Chrysler Museum at Norfolk, and eventually to the Chrysler Museum of Art. The two remained very involved with the museum throughout their lives. They purchased a house in Norfolk to move closer to the museum, and Chrysler remained director of the museum from 1971 until 1976. Afterwards, he chaired the board of trustees until 1984. His wife was also instrumental in work with the museum as she developed the museum library. It was renamed the Jean Outland Chrysler Library after her death in 1982 and now stands as the campus library at Old Dominion University. Chrysler passed away in Norfolk on September 17, 1988, after a battle with cancer. Chrysler did spark a lot of controversy throughout his life, most importantly when the Art Dealers Association of America claimed that 90 out of his 187 paintings on exhibition were fake. Another instance was where Picasso picked out 2 paintings that were gifted to him and wrote faux across them, meaning fake. It was speculated that this was due to his radical methods of acquiring art, but he defended his acquisitions and did not press charges against art dealers. This was speculated that it was due to his concern of losing the tax exemption status of the museum, as this would happen if not all works are accurate. But let's not focus on this, as all forged works were removed from the collection before being transferred to the museum. Other important contributions to the museum were made, Some would later award the museum, such as contributions made by the Batten family. The Irene Leach Memorial gifted 27 works, mostly medieval and Renaissance art, in April 2014. This was important as many of the works had already been on exhibition in the museum, but they gave them the full rights to it. Here we see 3 of the works that are from the Irene Leach Memorial collection. The architecture of the museum has evolved multiple times throughout history. The original Italianate style began to be constructed in 1932. Here we see the museum under construction and the modern museum today. The museum went under 2 expansions, first in 1965 and another in 1974, creating a more modern facade. The architects went back to the original Italianate style in 1989, and they wrapped the modern additions in the limestone of the original design. Here reads the museum's mission, that the Chrysler Museum exists to enrich and transform lives. We bring art and people together through experiences that delight, inform, and inspire. And I do believe that this is true, as they do have a lot of family and kids activities, but I do think that there could be more on the college and teen level to bring more people in to be inspired by the art that they have, but I will get to that later. Some things that the museum offers is free admission. It serves the general public 6 days a week. The museum also offers tours, like many museums do, but they have an innovative gallery host program where their job is to ensure that visitors have a positive experience by answering any questions and providing assistance. Gallery hosts are always seen throughout the museum in blue shirts and can help you in any way possible. The gallery hosts rotate on a predetermined schedule throughout the day to make sure that all is well with the museum. Hosts are also required to attend weekly training sessions in order to continually gain knowledge about the collection, so that they're always able to answer any questions or work with the new exhibitions coming in. A really strong business part of the museum is its glass studio that has attracted a lot of visitors. It has become an extremely important asset as it offers free daily demos, and a variety of classes and workshops are offered for both beginners and experienced students. A unique feature is the visiting artist program, where an artist comes to the studio for a few days and creates in front of a live audience. The museum usually invites 3 or 4 artists each year. It also has mobile hotspots where they set up at festivals and just a lot of different things that bring in different glass artists, which has attracted a lot of attention to the museum since the studio's opening. Here we see this year's first artist, Rick Allen, who creates futuristic space-themed glass pieces. Here we see him working in front of a live audience during early March. Note that these pieces are not made of metal, but are actually blown glass that was later covered with a metallic powder. The 2 historic houses are separate from the museum, but are still owned by the museum. The Willoughby Baylor House was previously the Norfolk History Museum, but was saved from demolition and opened as a house museum in 1970. It now displays art and artifacts dealing with the port city's heritage, as Norfolk is on the water. The 2-story brick house was built in 1794 by Captain William Willoughby, a descendant of one of Norfolk's founding families. So this has a lot of more historic artifacts as opposed to artworks. And I haven't visited any of the historic houses, unfortunately, but I would like to. And here we see a gallery host. They are also in the houses, and a cigar store figurine that was in downtown Norfolk during the 1800s. The Moses Myers House was built after the Revolutionary War and contains furnishings from the original family that lived there. And it's one of the oldest Jewish homes in the U.S. So it's interesting that they have this because it's more of a historical and artifact aspect as opposed to more fine art and paintings and sculptures. And these museums are open on Saturdays and Sundays. The museum also has a gift shop and cafe, as many do. The cafe was just recently reopened with the renovations and renamed. The museum's collections, as we know, have mostly come from Walter Chrysler, but have also come from many other contributors. The main categories of its 3,000 works are glass, European painting and sculpture, American painting and sculpture, modern art, ancient worlds, photography, contemporary art, and decorative arts. And I'm going to talk more about its glass collection because glass is really important to the museum with its studio, and this was due to Chrysler's fascination with glass that could be possible to the friendship that he had with his neighbor, Louis Comfort Tiffany, who was really well known for stained glass works and does have works on exhibit in the museum. So maybe this inspired Chrysler to start collecting these, and now the museum has amassed objects that span over 10,000 or 3,000 years. Here we see some different glass works. The work up in the top left is actually blown glass pills that I saw. It was on temporary exhibition that was on the abuse of prescription drugs and was really interesting. It was really awesome giant glass pills. And there were also works that were on the wall too. So they have a really diverse glass collection, some more modern and a lot more like historic stained glass. So my final analysis of the museum was really to focus on the museum's recent renovations. The museum closed for 16 months from 2013 to 14, where it went under a $45 million expansion project, and every gallery had to be modified and reinstalled, and all 3,000 works were to be moved for construction. This added 8,000 square feet of new gallery space to the then 210,000 square feet on the 2 floors. The expansion project also took more environmentally friendly initiatives to help with the museum's budget, and with energy costs currently running at $60,000 per month. They upgraded the heating and air conditioning systems to help with um, finances, and they also made new additions to the glass studio as visitation has increased 39% since opening in 2012 and becoming the East Coast Center for Glass. So here we can see the expansions that were made to the galleries. I know they focused on over the pink on the left is the Wisteria Cafe. They moved and they modified the ancient world galleries, and the blue is the expansion made to the glass galleries. So the results from their expansion was when they kicked off their grand reopening with the temporary installation of a 40-foot inflatable duck. This attracted a lot of visitors, and figures have begun to rise since then. The museum also got a new director 5 months after the reopening, so that has helped with changing things up with the museum, and attendance and scores have been rising since then. But what I'm really going to be focusing on in my paper, not really on attendance, but on getting a diverse group of people there and looking more on kids' activities, how they're getting in college level people since ODU is right there, and kind of just since teenagers really aren't interested in art as much, kids are forced to go on field trips, and then usually it's older people who are more interested. It's how to get at like high school and college level in. And another thing is maybe the lack of feminist art that is exhibited in the museum, being that it was started by two feminist women. So I will also be looking into that more in my paper. But thank you.